Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Ray, welcome to 10,000 Miles. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm doing amazing. Glad to be here and excited to see where we go from here.
Me too. So for the audience, I recently met Ray. This is the strangest thing ever. So on my show before, we've had on Coach Tony. He's been a 40-year friend, but not only that, sort of a colleague, cohort, and somebody I've traded licks with around emotional intelligence, emotional fitness, rising to greatness. We've done a lot of great stuff together, had a lot of fun, a lot of ups and downs. And he knows that I love a maniac in the best possible way, okay? Because it takes one to know one.
That's right.
My wife always says to me, here goes my husband. He's going to do one of those extreme things again. Right, here you go. He never goes halfway. If he does something like the wheels are like glued to the ground and then he burns rubber, here we go, right? Yeah. And so Coach called me one day. He goes, dude, I met this guy named Ray. You're going to love him. He's amazing. He's like just ran 100 miles, or he's getting ready to run 100 miles. I forget what he actually told me. Yeah. And he told me some of the stuff. And so, Ray, I'm going to give you, the truth here. I said to him, he's got a big social media presence. And he goes, I don't know. I have no idea. So I did a little search, a little looking up. I go, Tony, with all due respect, I'm like, you're finding guys in the middle of nowhere. I need interesting people, but I need people that are going to help raise my game as well. I go, does he have thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of followers? He goes, dude, trust me, you just got to meet this guy. And I'm like, okay, I trust you. So I get on the phone with Ray. And that's the first thing I see, by the way. I see this giant smile. I see somebody with a very magnetic personality. And immediately within 8 seconds, I'm like, love this dude. Like, how do you not love Ray? Right. And then Ray tells me his story about his journey, where he came from. And honestly, Ray, at that moment, I don't care if you had one follower or subscriber. Dude, I'm a huge fan of you. I'm a huge fan of your passion, your motivation, the way you talk, the things you do, the way you live your life. And if I can be a part of letting other people know what you know, and they can use even a piece of it in their life, then this episode will be a blockbuster hit. So Thank you very much for coming on the show tonight. I'm excited to jump in. Ray, that was longer than a minute, I promised you, but do me a favor, brother. Tell the audience who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's a pleasure to be here. Like you were mentioning, Coach Tony was just a guy that a random person that I typically meet, and I have that kind of connection and interaction with, to be honest with you, maybe 50 to 60 people a week, just like Coach Tony. And not to say that it doesn't surprise me that we hit it off, but it started off as a regular transaction, and to be on the show and to see where it's gone, it's amazing. And to go back to your initial question about myself and, kind of how I got to be where I'm at the moment. My name is Ray Chargualaf. I'm actually originally from the island of Guam. It's a U.S. territory. I was born and raised there. That's pretty much, I want to say, if I was going to take it to the origin, that's where everything started. I mean, that's where I grew up. I was born there. I'm raised in a very, very small village on the southern part of Guam. And I had big dreams, big aspirations. And to be fair, a lot of people that come from where I'm from, there's not a lot of big thinkers, and it's not because people don't have the talent or they don't have the work ethic. It's just, we're very, it's in our nature to see what was done before us and then try to follow in those footsteps. So to think outside of that box, to be out of that stereotypical kind of route in terms of how you plan out your future, it's not conventional. So I was definitely one of those people in the beginning where I saw myself wanting more, but I just didn't know how I was going to get there. And that's kind of like the microcosm of where I got today. I think big, I think different. And through that process, there was a lot of failures, but I don't look at it as failures. I look at it as, that was my first attempt. That was my second.
Nice.
And it led me to where I'm at today. And there's a lot that obviously happened in between to live this life that I'm living. But to be fair, everything happens based on what your mindset and your approach is. And if you feel that, if you feel like you can achieve it and you truly believe it because you're putting in the reps, you're putting in the work, you're not making excuses. You're not looking at somebody else's story and saying, why is it that I'm not there and I'm working harder, I'm working smarter, I'm doing all the right things and I'm still not 1/3 of the way I see someone else that's in a position that I'm trying to be at. You can't look at it that way. You have to literally put in the reps, put in the work, stop asking questions, stop doubting yourself. And then through that process, you're going to realize, like, what if I just did one more rep when it comes, like, I mean, really in regards to training, I mean, that's how I got started.
So you mentioned sort of not being around a lot of big thinkers, and immediately I pictured, I had a million reasons why. And I think that topic alone is interesting, if you don't mind unpacking that with me for a little bit. You grow up in the States here and on television there, and really in life. I mean, I even experienced this when I grew up, small town living. Okay. People grow up in a town. There's a way of life, and this is before, I'm older than you are. So I'm sure you had internet most of your life in Guam.
A third.
A third? Okay. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe this fits then, because, prior to internet and big reach and big vision and seeing things, anything you saw outside of your town, you saw on television.
That's true.
And so I grew up in New York, big, lots of people, tons of diversity, people from all over the place. But then we moved to this small town called Jackson, New Jersey. It was one of the biggest small towns ever, I would say, in New Jersey. Big by square miles, very big, but small in feel. And people just wanted to get out of the town, Some people figured they'd stay there, they'd work close by, they'd commute somewhere. But there was this whole thing. But even as you watched American television, there were tons of movies and shows about, like, you got to make it, you got to get out of this town, and they cheer on the people that make it out of the town. Yeah. Do you think the Guam thing was because you were sort of isolated in geography and maybe you only had internet a third of your life there? And people just were on that treadmill of like, hey, my grandfather did this, so my father did that, and my father did this, and that means I'm going to do that. Yeah. Maybe I expand. Like, what do you think more? Well, how do I have the words here? What do you think? What was it that limited people's thinking?
You know what? I'd be honest with you. If I was going to say one word, what was it? I think it's fear. Fear of change. It's so easy to conform because that's the norm, that you've seen it done and you've done it. So you're like, all right, I'm going to go do that too. So really there's only two options. I mean, not like you said, nowadays with the internet and social media, the access to information, the access to just, connecting with people is so much greater than what it was even when I was in high school. But to be fair, like, it's not about the access. It's not about, the information that you have in front of you. Sometimes it's like, do you want to get out of that comfort zone? And I think that's where I had to, I just knew that I wanted more. I knew that Guam was, it's always, I love my home. I literally part of my story is I came to the US or to Vegas to get experience, get knowledge, get information so I can bring it back home and really just enrich and give back to the community that helped, build me and grow and build me to the person who I became. And to be fair, to come back, it's like the main reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to challenge myself. It's not about the location. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you come from a big city, small town, a small family, big family. Like, really, like, there's only so many times where if your parents are they're drinkers or they're smokers, yes, your predisposition to be a smoker or drinker is higher, but that doesn't automatically make you a smoker or drinker when the minute you're able to make that decision or choice. So even though my parents weren't business people, they weren't, my entire family for that matter, they weren't really, adventurous. That didn't that if anything, that actually encouraged me more. And it sparked my curiosity to say, what if I made that
I can
decision?
relate. I can relate. You know, my parents were very safe. They were great parents. They were great parents. And Ray, you know, I liken it to because of the times they grew up in. I'm going to tell you a story here. I might have told this only one other time in a year on this show. My dad was born in the early 30s.
Okay.
So picture my grandfather, who's an immigrant from Italy, coming to this country in 1915.
Okay.
Going through the 20s, gets married, starts having kids, and my dad's born in the Depression.
Wow.
Okay, so rough times, right? Rough times. My grandfather is making daily decisions on what to do, what to eat, where to work, how to earn a living. It's tough. He became very safe. He became, hey, if that guy's offering me $1 and it's guaranteed, but the guy down the street is offering me $5 for the same day's work, but it's a 50-50 chance I'm going to get there. I got to go get the buck.
Wow.
Right? I got to get the buck because that buck feeds people and does stuff. I'm not sure what the monetary dollar amount was, but the analogy is the same.
Correct.
So my dad got raised in this very cautious environment, and he became who he became. Steady job, great worker, you know, committed, loyal, honest guy. Somehow I wasn't that guy. I took risks. I liked taking risks. I made sure that I was always reaching for the next spot. I don't know where my inspiration to do it came from. I think there's a place, but this is about you. Were you surrounded by somebody, or did you see somebody come across your life in some way, shape, or form that opened your eyes for the first time that said, there's more, I can do that too? Or where did this come from?
You know, definitely, I feel there was a male inspiration in my life where he taught me all about work ethic. You know, I think when you have that immigrant mentality where you're out there, you're doing whatever it takes to survive, whatever it takes to provide for your family, you almost have your back against the wall and you have no other choice but to get up. You have no other choice, whether you're sick, whether you're tired, whether you have all these things going on. You got to suppress that and just take on the day.
Yeah.
And I had an individual, my first cousin, matter of fact, he's about, I would say 16 to 18 years. I mean, there's definitely a huge age gap in terms of just life experience that he had. And
what's his name? Let's give him a shout out.
Yeah, his name is Anthony Chargualaf. So so just to kind of give some context, my dad, his family has 13 brothers and sisters.
Okay.
So my dad's oldest brother, his oldest son, which is Anthony, he was the oldest out of all the grandkids in our family, which, to be fair, our first cousins, there's about 50 of us. And so him being the oldest, he was respected and treated like a brother and sister, because just to put into context how far apart between my dad's oldest brother and my first cousin, they're about a year apart. So imagine the dad being the youngest of 13 and his older brother having his first child. They literally grew up together as brothers versus nephew and uncle.
We have that in my family too. My Uncle Joe and my cousin Joe. So my cousin is the oldest son of his oldest sister.
Okay. Wow.
And they're only a few years apart.
Yeah. I mean, same exact.
Very neat. Very neat.
So, in terms of mindset, I was ahead of my time in terms of just because being around him, it wasn't like I had a choice. If we had family obligations, if we had family gatherings, I mean, it literally, when they say it takes a village to raise, a family, I was part of that process in terms of, man, if we had a function going on, you had to go set up for these parties. You had to go, in our culture, you do a lot of fishing, you do a lot of farming, you do a lot of agriculture, and everything that's all free labor. So when I had, classmates and friends and neighbors around me going into you know, the beach, going to parties, doing normal kids things, right? Playing sports.
Yeah.
I'm out there. I'm picking papaya. I'm picking bananas. I'm planting. I'm going fishing. And this all starts at 5 a.m. and we don't get done till about 8 p.m.
How old were you when that started?
Safe to say, man, when you're old enough to talk back, you're old enough to get out there and do some labor, you know? So I was between 9 and 10 years old.
Yeah. Listen, you don't have to worry about child labor laws because you're not going to let anybody go. Because if my grandfather were alive today, he'd be brought to jail for violating child labor laws on me, Ray. So the shit I was doing at like, single digit ages, like, running an incinerator and painting apartments completely on my own.
Yeah.
It's okay. Your family secrets are safe here.
Yeah, no. So I think, you know what? I think that's what prompted me to really want to explore more because I saw that man, I thought to myself, like, this can't be life. Like waking up at 11, 12 years old at 5 a.m. on a weekend before the sun, you're literally waking up the roosters, right? And you're out there, you're doing work and you're just like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And little did I know, like, it was building a foundation of hard work
resilience,
ethic, resiliency, drive, discipline. And these are things that, what's funny is like people, they, they're like, just like Coach Tony when he met me, he was commending me for a lot of things. And I'm like, I'm just not used to being praised for doing my job. Like, only because you were expected to do it versus, well, we appreciate your work. We appreciate, the quality of attention to detail that you're bringing. It was like, listen, you do it or you don't eat. You do it or you don't have a roof over your head, or you do it or you don't get beat down. So
right, I should have, when I had kids, I should have sent them all to Guam. I should have sent them to your house.
Yeah, no.
You guys could have given them all the good stuff, and I would have paid food, rent, right? And then you could have brought them back, and I'm just kidding. I love my kids, but all people. I mean, it's funny, man. You have had this upbringing is gold.
Yeah,
it's the difference. It's gold. It's unreal. So you didn't have time for athletics, but you were athletic in your work, right?
Because I didn't want to spend like my days when I'm not in school to like work. I would literally join every sport, every quarter, just to like give me a buffer time to like be a kid, to grow. So I joined every sport.
You did join every sport. So what'd you do?
Man. So first quarter, cross country.
Okay.
Second quarter, wrestling. Third quarter, volleyball. Fourth quarter, I believe it was track and field. And
wow.
I have no interest in those things. But because I, like, with all that physical labor that I was doing, like, quote unquote, I was already in shape. I just didn't know that. It was just like, the coach would say, go do this or run from here to there without stopping. And I would always either come in first or I would be, like I said, not being a runner or not being whatever the sport that was going on at the time. They were like, wow, like, you got a good foundation, you got a good base. And really, it wasn't about me dedicating to the craft or the sport. It was just like, listen, I'm doing forced boot camp every day, and just to kind of on a side note, the two main professions that you get into, coming from Guam, it's either one of two things, or maybe I'll expand it to three. You either become a teacher. So if you go to college, you become a teacher.
Okay.
If you don't decide to go to school, you do the other two things. You either work for the government or you join the military to get out of the island.
Okay.
So none of those three appeal to me. I'm not a studious guy by nature. So I was like, I don't see myself becoming a teacher. The government thing, majority, like 90% of my family were in the government. So I knew how that road, where it led to. And I was like, there got to be more than this. And then with the military, listen, I felt like I was taking orders for 18 years, there's no way I want to have somebody scream at me and it's my choice for them. I mean, like,
Yeah.
and it had nothing to do with the physical aspect of the military. I did not need structure. If anything, I needed to know how not to be structured. Like, I wanted to be able to be able to think on my own. I needed to know how to fail, because everything was, it's just like the military. They tell you where to go. They give you your orders. They tell you your job, and you go do it. I was in that same system, just without choice.
Yeah.
And so that's what prompted me to want to leave and to think bigger. I was like, what is it that I can do? And to be fair, with all the culture shock of leaving the island, because that's where that isolation plays a role now. Our culture, the community, the place. I mean, I get choked up just talking about it, because I mean, that's what built me. That's the foundation. But let me tell you, you're limited in terms of your view of the world is so skewed, because all you know is 150,000 people. Yeah. All you know is this is the religion that people are worshiping, are practicing. This is the political thinking that people are accustomed to, because that's all you know. This is the type of food you eat, because that's all that's available to you. So making this move, coming out to a completely different place, it was challenging in a way where now all that hard work, all that drive, all that fuel that I had to want to leave was being tested. And so think of it, the easiest, I was just having this conversation with a buddy of mine that's kind of in a tough spot right now. And you know, he made some mistakes in his past, and, you know, I don't want to say it's now catching up to him, but I gave him the analogy. He goes, what makes you? And I said, you know, here's the difference between someone that's locked up in prison because they made a bad mistake, and then the difference of what I did in my journey to get to where I'm at. Moving away from home and coming into a completely different, you know, environment was like me putting myself in prison by choice. I had the key to open up that lock, to walk out. Anytime I experienced a hardship, I could easily open up those bars, that gate, and walked out, and then been in my safe in that comfort zone. But I chose, the difference is when you have when you're serving your time, you have a sentence, and you see that sentence, you're counting down for that day. Like, man, I got 2 more months, a month. The difference with me is I literally put myself in a prison where I had a choice to walk out anytime, but I chose to stay until I understood the lessons and the hardship that I put myself through. Once I was able to overcome that process, overcome those barriers and those challenges that I had, then I was ready to, whether if I decided to move back home or move to another location, like, listen, the work is there. I built enough mental strength, confidence, experiences, failures. I mean, all these emotions that you get triggered by in life, where it boggles you down, and whenever you hit a wall, you hit an obstacle, you hit a challenge, that's where you tend to either fall back or you look for help. You look for
Hey, Ray, you told me on our first call that you ran a bunch of businesses in Guam.
Yeah, I did.
What did you do there?
So naturally, I wanted to, you know, my background's in fitness, so I wanted to, that's the only way I knew how to give back. And, you know, I didn't have a lot of money to start. I literally went to Guam with a luggage, a backpack, and a newborn, and my wife. So I said, again, you know, having that mentality, no excuses.
So hold on, let's back it up. You came to the States when?
2002.
And what'd you do here in 2002?
So I elected to go to UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And I graduated from UNLV in 2008.
Okay.
With my bachelor's. And then in 2010, I graduated my master's degree.
Nice. And in 10, did you go back to Guam?
No. So
you never
decided
to Guam.
I went back to Guam 2016.
You did. And did you start the businesses then or before you came here?
So my first venture into entrepreneurship was here in Vegas in 2012.
Okay. Let's walk that road. I'm just catching up. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
2012. So the college piece is good. You got your master's in fitness, right? 2012, you start a business. What was that business?
So there's actually some interesting pieces that led to that point, and I want to get there, but I feel like there's a backstory that you would appreciate.
Okay, you tell me however you like to tell me.
Okay, so 2010, I decided to obviously get my master's and my internship. I had a choice to go into a job where I knew a buddy of mine, and he's pretty much can sign off all my hours for my internship. And I said, you know what? I could go the easy way, or I can put myself out there and pay my dues, so to speak. So I go into a local MMA gym. And right now, the equivalent would be, there's a UFC Performance Institute that's huge here in Vegas. The equivalent to that back in like 2010, 2011 was a gym called Tap Out. And it was a huge MMA hotspot for any fighter that was training for a camp or had a fight in Vegas. That's where they went to train.
I knew about that place.
Perfect. So I wanted to go to the best opportunity, the best situation that I wanted to align myself with. So I literally walk in the gym and I say, my name is Ray. I'm in a master's program. I'm looking for an internship. Listen, I'm willing to scrub the toilets, wipe down the sweat. I just want to be able to be locked in with the best coaches and the best athletes in the world. What do I got to do to do that? And so anyways, the guys put me through an audition. There was a little bit of a hazing process, but long story short, I got the internship.
Okay.
So here I am. I'm working with the baddest dudes in the world. I see them every single day, and I got a chance to work with them. I got a chance to obviously train them, connect with them, see how their mind works. The most amazing experience. So the coach that I was under, it just so happened, timing is everything. It just so happened that he was training NBC's Biggest Loser contestants at that time. I end up going into the internship. I get on the show with my coach. And so in a 2-month process of just me being there, we end up training 4 contestants from NBC's Biggest Loser show. 2 of them won the whole show.
That's amazing.
So how is it that we're training these UFC fighters? I mean, we had guys that were preparing for championship matches. We had the complete opposite end of the spectrum. We had sedentary individuals that were struggling with their health, and forget about performance. They just wanted to be healthy. They wanted to live life, right? So here we had completely opposite end of the spectrum. And what was the constant was this program that we had between me and that coach at the time. So when my internship was over, he's like, what are you going to do? I said, you know what? I'm fresh out of, this degree. I'm thinking about, possibly exploring, some strength and conditioning opportunities, or better yet, I'm thinking about going back to Guam. He goes, what do you think about opening up a gym? I said, dude, I don't know anything about business. I just know how to train. I know how to coach, but I know nothing about marketing. I know nothing about, literally nothing outside of just training. And he's like, listen, we have an individual, one of the contestants, he wants to put his show money, because, after you win the show, you win like $100,000.
Okay.
And he's like, listen, I have this one of our clients. He believes in what we're doing. He wants to help open up a gym here in town. I said, my boy, no, don't do that. Sorry, my son's kind of
That's
playing
okay,
around.
man. This is good.
But,
it's life.
So he goes, this guy wants to open up a gym. I said, man, listen, if you don't go to Guam, I'll give you this opportunity. I said, done. I'm in. So we opened up this gym in Vegas, and it was literally all due to this guy that believed in us from the Biggest Loser show. And that's how we opened up our first business, or how I got into business in Las Vegas.
Amazing. What was the name of that gym?
AMPD Fitness, AMPD. And so it was an acronym for Advanced Movements for Performance and Development.
I love it.
Yeah.
And how long did you do that?
So it goes into another interesting story. I did that for about a year and some change. We had a little bit of an unfortunate, I would say, fallout. And
happens in business. I understand. I've been there.
Yeah. And let's just put it this way. I leave out of the country to go back to Guam. I come back, and then I realize the whole gym is packed up. Literally, the gym is empty, right? And so all of our members, all of our, they were like, what's going on? Like, what's happening to the gym? I said, listen, your guess is as good as mine. But I'll tell you what, though, if you believe in what I'm doing and what I'm about to do, just follow me to my next venture. And I opened up another gym, bigger and better. And let me tell you, it was the most amazing experience. Something that could have been completely like a tragic ending to my story.
Yeah.
I decided, like, you know what? I'm not going to let a situation like this stop me from what I know I can become. And so that, again, just because of all the challenges I've been through in the past, when I went through this huge, just like life-changing moment, I could have packed it up, caved in, and said, Vegas isn't for me. I got screwed over again. And let me go back to my comfort zone. Let me go back home. I said, you know what? I have unfinished business. Let's go out there and give it a go this time for no business partners. You risk it all and you put it all on yourself. And the most amazing thing happened. Let me tell you, Vic, I had every member of my gym. Obviously, these people come from different backgrounds in terms of career. So I had a welder, I had a real estate agent, I had a lawyer. All of these people all contributed their expertise into the pot. And they're like, I'm a welder, I could build your gym equipment.
Wow.
I'm a realtor, I can go find you a warehouse space. I'm a lawyer, I can write up your LLC. I'm a marketing person, I can go do your social media. I'm a website designer, I can go design your website. I did literally, the gym was almost pennies to the dollar.
Wow.
That's how the community came together for me, because I decided to not give up on them. They decided not to give up on the vision
Love
of
it.
what I had. Yeah. So we opened up this grand, it was like I couldn't have imagined building something of this magnitude 2 weeks after all that happened, just because I was in a pressure cooker situation. So I'm like, I had to make a decision. What am I going to do? From the minute that happened to me to the minute I decided I'm going to move forward and this is my plan, I didn't realize that people were going to help out. 7 weeks, we had a new building, lights were on, grand opening in 7 weeks.
Holy cow. Amazing.
Floored. So anyways, to get back to your initial point about how I got back to Guam, like what was my entrepreneur background?
Finish that story at that gym. So what did you do? You ran it for how long? And tell me what happened.
There's another nugget that I want to add on.
All right. I'm going to let you get back on your own road then. Okay. Go ahead.
So what I said, I left the country to go to Guam, and I came back and my gym was completely like wiped out, right?
Yeah.
My plane broke down in Hawaii. Okay. So here I am, I'm leaving for about an 8-day trip. And just to let you know, it takes about a day and a half to get from the US to Guam, with flights, layovers, time changes. It's about a day and a half. So really, if I'm leaving for 8 days, I only have about 6 days of actual time on the island, right? So I get on a plane. My plane has a layover in Hawaii. The plane breaks down for 3 days. So keep in mind, I only have 3 days left on the island.
Yeah.
Right? My plane breaks down. I go through my phone. I'm scrolling. I'm like, who do I know in Hawaii? And this is around Christmas. So I'm like, who do I know here? So I'm not spending the holidays by myself. And it just so happened that I remember just in passing in a conversation that like a week ago that I met this person at a bar. She gave me her number and she goes, I'm going to be in Hawaii during this time. And I said, I don't know why it stuck out in my psyche, but I happened to be there and her name popped up. I said, oh, wait, hold on. Maybe what are the odds of, me running into this person here? So I give it a call and I'm like, I don't know how weird this is going to sound if I'm just some random guy that you met at a bar calling you and saying that I'm in Hawaii. What are you doing? And, let's try to get together. Long and behold, she picks up and she's like, man, you're stuck in Hawaii during the holidays. Listen, like, we're actually going to be in your side of the island. Why don't we just come pick you up and hang out? Vic, for the 3 days that I was there, not only did she make it seem like that was part of my trip, I could not believe the hospitality. I could not believe how much of a good time I had. And it had nothing to do with like, I'm trying to hook up with this girl. It was just like, I can't believe how out of the way she went to accommodate me being in a difficult situation. So reason why I bring up that story is because on my way back, I find out that the gym is obviously no longer there.
Yeah.
And I tell this girl, I'm like, man, I want to take you out just to, as a thank you for hosting me when my plane got stuck. So she finally agreed to meet up with me. I told her about the situation, about the gym closing, and she asked, what are you going to do? And I said, you know what? I'm thinking about moving back to Guam. And she goes, I guarantee you, whatever you do, whether you go back to Guam, you stay in Vegas, whatever the decision you decide to make, I guarantee you're going to be successful. But somewhere down the line, it's going to cross your mind. It may not be a week from now, a year from now, but I know some point in your life, you're going to think about and say, what if I stayed? What if this guy never decided to pick up and leave? What could have happened? The minute she pointed that argument out, I said, I got to stay and I got to build this gym. From that day, this girl that I met in Hawaii, didn't know anything about her, met up with her as a thank you dinner, changed my whole life.
Wow.
That person that I met ended up becoming my wife.
I knew it. And you know what, Ray? You already answered one of my questions. I was going to say, what's a moment in life that completely changed you? And that's it, brother. That's really amazing. Was she living in Hawaii at the time or just vacationing there?
So she was she's living in Vegas. She was vacationing in Hawaii, but she's transitioning to move to Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there was a lot of moving parts. And I said, listen, I'm about to build, I'm literally taking your advice. I'm going to build another gym and I don't care what it takes. I don't care if it kills me. We're going to build this gym because I have all the support. I have no excuse outside of me being scared. And I'm like, the biggest risk is not taking one. So I said, screw it. I'm building this gym. That 7-week process, she was with me every single day, single day, whether I was making calls, looking at real estate, commercial real estate, looking at equipment. I mean, she was there throughout that whole process. And I said, man, this person has no business making this her business. Why is that? And here I am. I'm at the turning point in my life where I was living in such a high, right? And my world gets rocked. I'm trying to pick up the pieces. Here's somebody trying to support whatever that was left of me. Even though I wasn't broken, inside I was broken, but I didn't show the world that. I'm like, yeah, like this is what we do. This isn't any challenge that comes up is only going to make me better. So, but deep down I was broken. I mean, I can't sugarcoat it. But at the end of the day, like at the time I had that, I'm a man. I don't show any weakness. I don't show any sign of fear. But deep down I was like, man, my identity is destroyed.
It's tough.
Yeah. She picked me up. She showed me how to be vulnerable. And in one whole year, we've never not spent a day away from each other.
Ray, mental toughness is not about being void of moments of doubt and weakness.
Yeah.
Mental toughness is about what you do about it when it's hitting you and after it takes you down to your knees.
There it is.
That's what mental toughness is, because, this whole thing, I'm a guy, I can't do this, or, I am a robot, I have no emotions, I'm emotionally fit. No. Yeah. If there's anything I've learned through my years on this planet consuming up oxygen, is that the real mental toughness isn't to avoid those things. It's what you do when those things hit you hard. There's a quote in a Rocky movie. It's not about how hard you can get hit. It's about how hard you can get hit. Not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you get hit and keep moving forward, right? As silly as that thing is in Stallone, there's within that movie, that's a big message there. Yeah. And it's very, very, very true. It's not about having armor and having shit bounce off of you. It's like, what do you do when you get hit? You get penetrated and you're down on one knee. Like, how do you tough through that? And I love that. So this is a great movie. You met the plane breaks down, you meet your wife. It's just where you met her prior and you didn't think anything of it. And here you are and you're like, hey, I'm in, which island were you on, by the way, in Hawaii? Oahu. Great.
Yeah.
So cool.
It was, so to keep into context of the our story here, we opened up this amazing brand new facility. We make the impact that I knew that we were capable of. And 1 year goes by. I decided to pop the question. I said, I'm not waiting any longer. This is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with.
Yeah.
And, I remember like it was yesterday, I popped the question and we did it good old Vegas style. And again, this is like kind of another story. Let me tell you.
Don't tell me you got married by Elvis.
The same place Elvis got married, actually.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
We did kind of like the unthinkable, right? So I proposed to her on a Saturday. Of course, she's like freaking out. She's excited. She's calling her family up. I'm telling my family. And after the initial conversation's over, I said, this should be about us. If I come from a big family, you come from a big family. Our families are all over the world. Are we going to meet in Vegas? It was already stressful just thinking about it. I said, if this is about us, let's do this tonight.
You're a man, Ray. You really are.
And
you're my brother, and you don't even know it.
when you said maniac in the beginning of the introduction,
you're like, oh, this is great.
You couldn't have stated anything more accurate, right?
This is great, but in the best of ways.
Yeah, no. And so I popped the question at like 10 a.m., right?
Yeah.
11 a.m. I'm talking about, let's do this tonight. And she's like, you're crazy. There's no way. My parents are going to freak out. Your parents, what are you talking about? Like, it was chaos, right? And I said, listen, just hear me out first. Hear me out. I said, just think about it, right? Is it about the event or is it about the meaning behind what we're trying to do? Two people are trying to become one. When we do the wedding invitations or we're licking the envelopes or setting it out, that's about everybody else doing the party, that could happen anytime, but let it be about us. Right. And so as I'm going through these, I don't know, bullet points, I guess, in my head, and it wasn't even like I planned it to be that way. It was just, man, I'm the type where if I want it, I'm doing it. I'm getting it, like I'm a black and white kind of guy. I don't live in the gray area. It's either you go all the way or you don't do it at all. That's me. And so long and behold, she agreed to it. I literally you go to the mall at the time. Right now, everybody buys things on Amazon, but at the time, you go to the mall. I literally go to a kiosk, right? And you're just like, hey, I need an engagement or a wedding band. I was like, Vic, probably $15. I said, boom, perfect. That's my wedding ring. And we went down to Little White Wedding Chapel where Michael Jordan got married at, Britney Spears, Elvis. We did literally a shotgun drive-through wedding, cost us $300. And let me tell you, never look back,
Man, I love it.
And so that's not even the best part yet. So 2 months later, she's like, man, I'm not feeling good. So I'm like, oh, are you sick? What's going on? So long and behold, she takes a pregnancy test, finds out that, it's positive. We go to the doctor and he backtracks the date of when she potentially, we conceived. We got engaged. We got married. We got pregnant all in one night.
Oh, one night.
We did the trifecta, Vic. We did the trifecta.
You don't mess around, right?
We don't mess
You don't mess around. No time wasting here.
That's it. Great. So right away, and you know what? Just to put it, I don't want to, I don't know if my wife will feel comfortable. I feel comfortable telling this story because, nothing short of a miracle. I didn't realize at the time where, I guess in a previous life, my wife was told that she wasn't able to have kids. On a side note, she was also on birth control. And so I didn't know all these things. I was just like, listen, I'm the type of person where I take you as you are. If she thought that maybe it could have hurt our relationship if she told me that we weren't able to have kids, I said, listen, I love you for you. Like, it has nothing to do with what you bring to the table or what you're capable of. It's like, listen, like thick and thin, inside out, like the whole nine. Right? That's just me. And so, the fact that she put that into context, like I wasn't supposed to have kids. Mm-hmm. I was on birth control at the time that, we conceived. And I was like, listen, if it was meant to be, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And so going through the whole business thing, we open up a new gym. My wife goes through her pregnancy and now we have our first child, right? 7 months after she was born, we started looking around at Vegas. And Vegas, let me tell you, Vegas is not the way it was in 2012, 2013 is not the way it is now.
Okay.
I mean, we had to make some tough decisions, and imagine, man, it took me, blood, sweat, tears, sweat equity, financially, everything to build this community, this facility that we built, right?
You built a community. People don't realize that when you build a gym, it's not 4 walls and equipment. You're building a community.
That's it. So we had all that. And then imagine, my wife's like, I don't know if this is the best place to raise our family, And I said, I'm going to respect that. And I'll tell you right now, spin the globe, pick a place, we'll make it. We'll figure it out. And we're on our way to this huge move, this huge decision. And just like everything else that I've told you throughout my life, like, it's not about preparing yourself. It's, are you ready? So a situation came up that we were going to make a huge life decision. I said, listen, I'm willing to give up all of this gym, this community, the people that I train, the people that I'm literally growing up with that see me grow and develop throughout my adulthood, right? And I'm willing to give up all that because this is what's going to be best for our family. So in a matter of like 6 weeks, I sold my gym. We moved, gave everything up. Just like
How
that.
did you pick Guam? If you were going to spin the globe, did it just seem obvious, family and all that, or what was it?
It's funny. It wasn't even my choice. I had opportunities, so I got a job offer in LA to be the athletic director for UC Santa Clara, I believe. And I gave that proposition to my wife. She goes, you know what? That's not a big enough move. Like LA to Vegas to LA, we're basically doing a lateral transfer. Like we need something, something different. So I think I had another opportunity in Washington. She's like, no, I want to get out of the States. So I said, so we're looking at Hawaii. We realized Hawaii's cost of living is a little bit too pricey for us at the time. Mm-hmm. So we scratched that out. And then we decided, so she has family in New Zealand and Australia. I said, let's go to New Zealand. I'm down, And on our process of move, imagine we're already moving. We just didn't know where our destination was going to be at yet. And so I was getting interviews from Japan, Korea, New Zealand. And as opportunities came up, we were just slowly making our way out west. So when we landed on Guam, she was like, man, I think I love it here. Your family is, she's never been there. Keep in mind, your family is welcome me in. It reminds me of back home. My wife's Samoan, by the way, so she grew up in Samoa. And so she's like, there's a lot of similarities. So we feel that, this is a good place to raise our family. I said, you know what? If you feel comfortable here, then we'll figure out a way. Yeah. We'll make it. So that's what we did. No plans. We didn't have a job. Literally luggage, a backpack, a newborn, and my wife.
Amazing. Okay.
Zero plan. Right. And so I looked at the landscape of what Guam had at the time. And I was just like licking my chops because I'm like, man, I cannot wait to start something here that I already built momentum on in Vegas. So we got to Guam, and let me tell you, I hit the ground running. I literally started with $10, and I went to like the local sporting goods store. I bought literally cones. Give me 1 second. I want to grab it because I still have it to me. I want to show you context, like how I started the business.
Yeah, go get it, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Ray is going to get his cones here. He's coming back. Don't worry, people.
So this is what I got right here.
Yeah. Wow.
$10 worth of cones right here. Right.
Okay.
And I said, that's all I need. This is how we're gonna survive. This is how we're gonna make it. And I took those cones. I went out to a park, right? And I just said, free workouts. Come on. 5:30, come out. If you have a heartbeat, if you're a mammal, I'll train you, right? I'll learn how to speak dolphin, Let anybody come out that's willing to make a change, and I promise you won't regret it. And 2 people came out. 2 turned to 5, 5 turned to 10. And within a span of like 2 months, I probably had over 150 people come out.
Holy cow.
In 2 months.
And so how did you monetize that?
So what I did was I decided to make it into an 8-week program. And we met 3 times a week. And what happens that every 8 weeks, we assess from where you started to where you're at in 8 weeks. It may not get to your goal, but let me show you. I'm going to show you how to improve in ways where you didn't think you're capable of. So really, I just used fitness as that vessel to build confidence. Like I wasn't reinventing the wheel. I wasn't showing people like how to a new version of a squat or a new version of a push-up. Mm-hmm. It's like, let me show you the hardest part is just starting, and the harder part is staying consistent. I'm going to minimize those percentages of you failing, and let me show you how I'm able to do that. And so, I had a little tricks up my sleeve just because of the experience that I had. But let me tell you, people, they couldn't believe what they were capable of doing. And when, of course, everything is like word of mouth, right? When one person came out, and strategically from a marketing standpoint, this is where now having somewhat of an entrepreneurial background, I knew how to put myself out there and it was, let me tell you, it was like a fire sale. As soon as 10 people came out, it was like, I doubled that. Once we got 50, I doubled that. We got to 100, I tripled it. I mean, I couldn't keep up with the amount of people that was coming into my program, not because, like I said, I was doing something special. They felt that they were part of a community. They felt that they were coming into a place that, let me tell you, you go into a commercial gym, even to today, you got people wearing, pretty revealing clothing. They're showing their body up. They're showing that hardware, right? Like, look at all the hard work put in. How intimidating is that if you're someone that's 80 pounds overweight, right? How intimidating if you see someone picking up 100-pound dumbbells going, yeah. And then you're over here, you're doing 15. You don't even know if you're doing it right, let alone taking up space, right? So I looked at all the reasons why people fail. I mean, I've been in commercial gyms my whole career. I know why people don't continue their membership or just let it pass through. And now they're just getting auto debited for no reason, right?
Yep. So
once I understood all those dynamics and then I put it into this program, I mean, it took off like wildfire. And, so that was my first.
That's so cool.
Yeah. That was my first business that I opened up on Guam, was literally running out of those cones there that I just presented. And within 10 months, I decided to parlay that business, and I could have had enough money to put a down payment for a building or to start a gym. But I said, you know what? I'm ready for a new challenge. I want to do something different. And I heard a lot of people saying, stay away from food, get away from the food industry, just stay far from it because the margins are horrible. The hours are even worse. And the success rate is
very low,
zero to none. Right.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? That sounds like a recipe for me to try out.
Yeah. This is Ray, by the way. I'm likely going to fail. Is a 2% success rate. It's a worse business to be in. Shit, sounds perfect for me.
Yeah.
This is the best challenge I can go after.
I want something that is going to keep me up at night because it scares me.
Okay.
Right? And so I decided I have 200 people I am seeing on a daily basis. These 200 people need to eat. Right. So right away, boom, the light bulb went off. And then, keep in mind, I had people asking me, oh, what should I eat after my workout? Can you write me a meal program? So I said, you know what? Let's do a proof of concept. Let's just start saying we're going to offer like 30 meals a day. And you have to be one of those 30 people to get a meal because I'm not making 100, just something out of my kitchen at home. So I said, if I'm going to do it anyways for myself, I might as well do it for 30 other people and make money off of it. That way I just looked at it as a way for them to not even to make money. Hey, here's a way for them to pay for my own meals, So long and behold, I said, you know what? Let's take this money. And I keep in mind, at the time I had no overhead. I just had a bunch of cones and I had like one or two other people that were helping me out. So of course, I paid them out, but outside of that, everything was just, it was cash flow. So I saved up and I decided, you know what? Let's get a food truck. Every time we pop up into this random park, the food truck will be there. And so the way I positioned it or marketed it was I would tell my group, order your food now. That way, by the time your workout is done, it's ready for you and you're on your way.
Amazing.
So what I didn't anticipate is that when we were parked up, we just had a bunch of other people that were not in my program. Like, listen, I don't want to work out. I just want to eat. And I was like, absolutely. Let's go in the service shoot. Once I realized that this thing has a little bit of momentum, and I love the fact that, so keep in mind, business wise, I was only getting paid once a month because of that membership.
Yeah.
But with the food, I was getting paid every day. So I love the fact that I wasn't relying on this huge lump sum every month. Now I can get some, kind of daily revenue stream. So I love that aspect of it. And decided to do this food truck. Man, let me tell you, the food industry, I respect the hell out of everybody that's serves a meal. I mean, I'm at a point now because I've lived it, I've breathed it. I was in that space for about 6 years. Man, I probably tip, I'm a 40%, 50%. I don't care if it's a shitty service, to be honest with you, just because I know what it takes to turn the lights on, man.
Yeah.
Albeit it was very successful, I want to say, even to this day, it was probably the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life.
A lot of moving parts. Cones don't have an expiration date.
Man,
everything you serve has got to be fresh. It's got to be healthy. It's got to be handled appropriately. It's a very complicated business to do well.
You know one thing, Vic, that really just ate at my craw? It's a very thankless job, because people want their food quick. They want it good. And here's the thing. You could serve that same customer 100 times, right? And 99 out of the 100, it was everything they expect that one time. They're like, this is the worst service I ever had today. And I was like, man, can we get a break?
Yeah, I know.
For the entire year, we took care of you. And that one time that there was a potential mess up, and all of a sudden, like they want to bash you on a Yelp or on a
Yelp. It's tough.
I mean, that was probably one of the biggest things where, like, you had to take things with a grain of salt, and even just the setup. I mean, restaurants already, like I said, I have a huge respect for, but let me tell you, the food truck community, because you're moving a kitchen every day. Every day, you're dealing with two different components. You're dealing with a moving kitchen that you have to set up and prep for 2 hours before you even start serving, versus you just go into, your building, your commercial space, and you pop on the lights and you're ready to start the grill.
Right.
Doing a food truck, 2 hours before you even do that process. So it was let me tell you,
It's a tough business, for sure.
I don't even like to relive those days in my mind.
I'm going to pull you out of the food truck because I want to get to the spot where you decide to come back to Vegas.
Yeah. So, things were going great. My wife comes up to me again and she goes, you've opened up 4 businesses already, 5, I believe, 5 businesses already. And she's been a stay-at-home wife for a majority of the times that, we've been together. So she's like, I want to build a legacy for myself. I said, absolutely, man, 100%. I want to support you. What does that consist of? Is it a business? Is it, what do you want to do? And naturally she goes, and keep in mind, my wife has a master's too, so she's educated. She's motivated. She's amazing. Right. And I said, I want to back you up. And she goes, you know what? I just want to start, applying to different places. And long and behold, she got the job that she got offered was back in Vegas. And I built this, again, I built a community.
Yeah.
I built this amazing home. I have the most amazing home gym. Life couldn't be better, right? We're going to the beach like 3-4 times a week. I mean, it was great. I have family. Everywhere we go, I go into the grocery store, people are, it was just like, I was a figure in the community,
You got the life.
We got the life, and just the icing on the cake is I get to do it back home where I started, and then sure enough, as things got easy, she goes, I got an offer in Vegas. What do you think? I said, back it up. Let's go.
I love it.
So what are you going to do? I said, I don't know, but I'm ready. I said, well, tell you what, when we land, I'll figure it out, you know, but I'm not ready. If you have a job offer, let's go. Let's move. 3 months after everything is built, 3 months, we move.
Right. Amazing. So did you have any more kids while you were back in Guam?
Yeah. So we had 2 more kids.
Okay.
So 3 kids altogether. And yeah, that's my family right there. You know,
so now you got 3 kids. You're coming back to Vegas. Your wife's got a job at UNLV.
Yes, sir.
You touched down back in the States. You're in Vegas.
Yep.
Let's bring it, because I want to get to the run. Yeah. I know we're going to spend a lot of time on this thing, but yeah, tell me what's coming. Tell me what happened when you landed.
So we land on a Monday, right? Never forget it. We land on a Monday. I started looking at strength and conditioning jobs, personal training, fitness, anything fitness related on Indeed. I get a call. So I put in my resume, right? I get a call, land on a Monday, get a call on a Monday. You get an interview on a Wednesday. I got a job on Friday. I literally started before my wife started her work.
Wow.
Yeah. And so during this opportunity, it was great. You know, it checked some boxes, but I knew that wasn't my purpose, to be fair. You know, I knew that it was something bigger was ahead.
Yeah.
In that time frame, I knew in the back of my head going into the run that I needed to challenge myself physically just to provide ownership in what I do in this space. So what's something that people don't know me for? Running. So
okay.
In the back of my mind, as soon as I landed, was I need to get a job so I can get income, but more so, I need to find some kind of momentum builder for myself to say, I landed, I'm here. Where do I go from? What's next?
What year was this again?
This was 2023.
Okay.
So we moved here in June, and already in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about 100 miles because I never would have thought that would ever even be considered. However,
you're not a runner.
Not a runner.
And so you don't pick a 5K. You don't pick a 10K. No. You don't pick a marathon. You go right to 100 miles. That's an ultra, right?
That's an ultra marathon.
All right.
And just to put into context, in order for it to be considered an ultra marathon, you have to run anything over 26.2 miles, which is a standard marathon.
Okay.
So if you run a 50K or you run a 30 miler or 50K, that's an ultra marathon.
That's an ultra. 100K,
okay. That's an ultra marathon.
Yeah. So 100 miles is what, called a 100 miler, or?
So there's different categories within an ultra marathon, but in all fairness, most people in that space really consider anything triple digits as like your standard ultra marathon. Now that's at least from what I've gotten through the community. Once you hit triple digits, like you're at the pinnacle of ultra marathon.
Okay.
So I said, all right, there's my entry point, 100 miles. That's it. So I knew that I needed to train for it, but I didn't know how. But I also know that I needed a job first. So because you got to pay for your insurance fee and your preparation and everything. So I needed to get a job. So I got the job, and the job was great. To be honest with you, I was working with kids, young athletes that were aspiring to be Division I athletes. You kind of got them at this like adolescent to pre-adolescent stage, and it was a good experience because I've worked throughout my entire career. I worked through all kinds of demographics except kids. Until I had kids, I was like, I don't want to train anybody else's kids except mine because I don't have the patience for it. So it's just out of my wheelhouse. But I looked at it as a challenge. Like, if this is something that makes me uncomfortable, more so to go do it. So I did it for about 4 to 5 months. I got what I needed to get out of it, but I just knew that there wasn't enough ceiling for me to grow there. So to fast forward to where I'm at today, I'm actually a strength and conditioning specialist at Fontainebleau Las Vegas, where I met Coach Tony.
Yep.
And let me say, it was probably one of the best decisions I made. Completely unconventional of what I should be doing in terms of my space. But again, it just fit who I was, because anything that's not traditional, that's out of the norm, outside the box, man, sign me up for it. So being there at my current position, I, again, decided to do this 100 miler. Keep in mind, this is a brand new property, right? It's the newest, the latest and greatest on the strip.
Oh, I've been there. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So about a month before it opened up, I signed up for this 100-miler.
Okay.
I'm trying to run, best I can. I don't know anything about, keep in mind, I don't know anything about hydration. I don't know anything about nutrition. I don't know anything about shoes. I don't know anything about how much to run. All I knew is I knew how to train, but I don't know how to train for that specifically. And a lot of times people would say, well, why don't you just go look up ultra marathon training regimen? I said, the problem is an ultra marathoner only cares about running. I care about, conditioning, strength, power, explosiveness, stretching. All these things essentially makes me become a hybrid athlete. There's no program that's out there that like replicates what I do. So I'm just going to say, screw it. I'm just going to wing it anyways. I just want to go out there and, hey, 100 miles. I got the mindset. No problem. Let's go do it. So, about a week before our opening of the property at Fontainebleau, I go do this 100 miles, right?
So walk me from the registration to the race day. Like, what were you doing to train?
Man, let me tell you, I said, okay, I got to run. So I probably ran maybe 30 to 40 miles a week.
Okay.
And if we break it down, that's about, on average, about 6 miles, 4 to 5 times a week.
Okay.
So that was my typical regimen. And I felt good. To be honest, I felt pretty confident. And I felt like because of all the other type of cross training that I've done, I felt like, man, I'm ready. And in terms
can't even believe this.
Yeah. So here's the process.
Yeah.
I go online and I just type in 100 miles race Las Vegas. That's it. Because I didn't want to travel. So I look up the nearest 100-mile race and I realize that it's in November. At the time, I remember, keep in mind, I landed in June. I start this job and I want to say by August, I sign up, I register. And so, I look up the website. The race is called Firefest Ultra, right? Know nothing about it. And I look it up. I see some pictures. I'm like, oh, wow, looks like it's in the desert. So I guess I'm doing trail running. So my mind was like, okay, let me do 5 miles or let me do 2 or 3 times of training. I keep in mind, I have like a pretty kind of a one-of-a-kind treadmill. So I felt like that was going to get me through a lot of the practice runs that I'll do. But then I know that I have to be doing some trails because that's the nature of the course. So I would do like a trail work once, twice a week. And then I would generally just run at home on my treadmill. And I did that for about maybe 2 months. That was my preparation.
I'm sorry. If I didn't see the stats and the scoreboard and all the stuff that you showed me, by the way, I did validate that Ray did this. Nobody would believe this. This is incredible. So you're running a max of 6 miles. You're doing that, you're doing 30, 40 miles a week, right? Whatever. You're still doing all your conditioning, your other conditioning, right? Your training.
Yep.
Okay. Now you're feeling ready.
Oh, confident. Hey, confident.
Yeah, you're confident, right? You got this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't want to blow the surprise, but you're kind of meeting people along the way, right? And you're getting support from people, right?
So not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
My very first one, I was in the blind. I went out there.
Okay.
And I had about 3 buddies. And let me tell you, one guy was he's actually a UFC fighter.
Okay.
He's from Guam, and he was one of the guys I was consistently training when I was still on Guam. Long story short, day of my race, he surprised me. He came out to crew my race. So now in the back of my mind, I had a lot of pressure because I'm like, this guy flew all the way from Guam. Like, I am not going to let this guy down. Forget about how I feel. I'm not going to let him down. Right. And so here comes race day. We pack up. I mean, man, let me tell you, my whole garage was full of supplies, right? You think we're doing like a 10-day excursion.
Okay.
We go out there, we set up our base, and of course, the race starts. Everything's going good. And then I realized like real quick that this is, I don't know what the hell I signed up for.
Okay.
So to put into context, it's a 20-mile loop, right? So you have to do 5 of those. hence the 100 miles. The first loop, I go out there on my own, and I'm just looking at the terrain, the landscape, and I'm like, okay, I feel good. I need to get acclimated to the terrain, because all there is just like literally a strip of a marker this long. And if you miss that marker, you can go 5 miles in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
So my first loop, I go 2 miles outside of the trail.
No.
And so I realized real quick that, you know, I'm not in the right area. So I have to backtrack. I go back, and then I finally see, and keep in mind with that kind of ultra, every ultra is different. So with that specific ultra, you can be on the course and not see anybody for 3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like you know if you're going in the right place or not. It's just you have to have situational awareness at all times, regardless of your condition. So my first loop, I was excited. I was feeling a little bit of aches and pains, but overall I felt good, outside of the fact that I got lost for about a mile and a half, 2 miles. So I check in with my camp after my initial 20-mile loop, feeling good, but now I can tell my pace has slowed down. Every lap presented a new challenge. Essentially every 20 miles presented a new challenge. And by the time I hit my third lap, which is mile 60, I was already a shell of myself. At 50 miles, I didn't want to be there. I started looking at my time. I realized that, you know, you start doing the math in your head at your pace, at the amount of miles that you have left. You got 32 hours left. I'm like, holy shit, we're in bad shape, right? And so long story short, my first race, I hit 60 miles, and you remember, you go to your base camp and you have to go back out and repeat the same terrain that you just got through going through for literally at this point. I was already out there for 22 hours, right? So I'm out there 22 hours, and in the middle of November in that part of Nevada, it probably got to about 32 degrees with about a 8-degree wind chill factor. So it was about 24, right? And I'm in shorts. Again, I'm unprepared. I'm in shorts with a really thin, lightweight hoodie jacket. My legs are swollen up. My feet is torn to shreds because of all that impact. I'm wearing the wrong shoes, by the way. I didn't know anything about how much hydration, how much nutrition to take. So every time I ate too much or I didn't drink enough was my problem. I had severe chafing in my inner thighs and my arms, just because so another kind of side note was I needed to use the bathroom. Fortunately, I was like, I don't want to do it. I'm in the middle of this run. I'm just going to hold it. Worst thing you could ever do. I don't know if you ever had that sensation, but you got the butt sweats. The butt sweats started to occur.
Oh boy.
That was the beginning of the end. By the time the race was done, by the time I finished, I literally, when I took off my pants to go change and shower, literally my skin was ripped off my shorts.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's the kind of shape that I was in post run. And again,
how far did you go?
So my first one, I was at 60 miles. Like I mentioned, I hit the third loop. And mentally, I just said the only victory I have at this point, because again, I was looking at the time. I started on a Saturday. It was already Sunday morning. I said, it's going to take me to Tuesday to finish based on the pace I was going. Yeah. Wow. So I said, the only other moral victory I can get is I'm just going to keep going until my time limit expires. That's the only thing. That way I can say I didn't quit. Right.
Okay.
That was the only thing that I had going for me. Everything else was like it was physically, health wise, everything was I was doing damage to my body at that point. So
what is the time limit for these things, Ray?
For that one specifically, it's 35 hours.
Okay.
So I was about 22 hours in. So I said, you know what, let me just do what I can. So I got to 35 hours. I was already at that point where they were cleaning up the race or the course, because this is a public park. So they're cleaning up the park and they needed to go back to operations.
Yeah.
And they literally scooped me up in an ATV, and I clocked in on my first 100-mile attempt at 72 miles, 35 hours.
Amazing.
So
amazing.
If you look at the ultra sign up, which is, you can see the amount of races I did.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of give me like a consolation prize, or like, is this your first ultra? I said, it is. And I said, you guys are full of shit for making it this hard, because I didn't, they were like, this is one of the worst races to start your ultra career. That was the exact words by the race director,
Wow.
And she goes, why are you here? I said, I wanted to test myself, I wanted to prove that if I put my mind to it, that I'm able to accomplish a lot, and so, she goes, you did a lot. I go, for your first time doing it, you did 100K, which was 63 miles. And, in my mind, I was thinking like, I let myself down, right? It just didn't stick with me, right? So they, on the site where it shows all my races, it listed as 100K. And I said, that was kind of like a consolation prize, because I was the last person. And keep in mind, I was the last person on the course.
Okay.
Nobody else was there. Everybody's tents were packed up. I mean, literally, there was nobody else there. And so, I had and I obviously had some time to think about it. And to make matters worse, the next day was opening day of Fontainebleau. I literally, 7 hours later from that 72-mile journey, I'm hobbling into work like this. 6 hours, 6 hours after the race, I just finished. I went straight to work.
Did you sleep?
Like 2 hours, maybe.
No.
I went straight to work.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I started with Maniac. I'm going to end with Maniac. All right.
Yeah.
So, hey, by the way, I mean, just incredible.
Yeah.
But now you got the bite, right? Now you got bit by the bug. You're going to do this again. I already know where it's going.
Yeah. So imagine I had time. So of course I'm trying to heal up, and I was in bad shape. I just had to figure out, what the hell went wrong, which is everything. So a week later, I go online. I looked up 100-mile Las Vegas ultra marathon. I said, boom, there's one in February, which was like 6 weeks later. So it ended. It's a week. The ultra race, the Firefest Ultra, was the week before Thanksgiving, and then about a week and a half later, I was starting to heal up, and like second week of December, I said, I need to find another 100-miler. I need to find something to redeem myself. I don't like the way that's sat with me, and so I go online. Boom! 5 weeks later, there's another 100-miler. Perfect. Sign them up.
Holy cow!
I said, I don't care. I'm gonna die out there. Like, that was my mentality. Like, there's no way I'm going to let this happen again. Right? So sure enough, come 6 weeks later, keep in mind, I actually ran less. So if somebody asked me, how did I prepare for that next attempt? I actually ran less.
Okay.
I need to save my body for the actual run.
Okay.
So I'm going to do other things like stretching, mobility work, things that are unconventional in terms of how I would prepare myself, because I didn't want to put it through more stress than it needed to be.
Okay.
So I kind of, quote unquote, invented my own programming for it. And went out there 6 weeks later. In 36 hours, I got my first 100-miler under my belt.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Man, that's just unbelievable. So I don't want to give this away, but you sent me something that I watched.
Okay.
That was supporting your efforts. Was that during this race or a subsequent race? You sent me a video of somebody pretty well known.
Oh, yeah. No. That was another race.
Okay. I want to get to that. But
okay.
So 36 hours. This didn't have the same 35-hour time limit?
So that one was 48 hours.
48 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
But you did the 100 miles.
Actually, technically, it was 101.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
We did 101.
What was different?
The terrain, for one.
Okay.
But, screw the terrain. I mean, the mindset. I'm willing to die for this. I'm willing to push myself in places that I never thought I could do. And once I started going through the same, so the first one, when I did 72, I physically could not believe that I was able to go to work the next day. And you've been to Fontainebleau. The property is huge.
Yeah.
So the next day, I did 7 miles of actual walking. After I just did 72 miles 5 hours ago, 6 hours ago, whatever the time frame was, right? So I said, how the hell am I still able to stand up, let alone walk? That means there's still something left in the tank.
Yeah, there's more gas in there.
I didn't wring out everything I had in me. I said, don't ever do that again. Don't ever feel that you're not capable when you are. So every time I felt, and here's the irony of it. In my 100-mile race, or my second attempt, I actually felt worse earlier than I did in my 72-miler.
Okay.
But because I knew that experience that I had, like, okay, this is normal. I felt this before. My feet, the chafing, everything, that's normal. I felt it before. But look, you're able to do 7 miles after the fact. Like, stop being a bitch and get out there moving. Okay. One step at a time, 1 mile at a time. You're looking at it because it's easy to look at it like, man, I got 47 more miles left. You just got to break it into like micro doses and play these games that you have to do to overcome these huge like challenges in front of you. So I did that. I just broke it up and I just kept telling myself, like, you know what? I have all these people like they're looking at me for, you know, motivation and, you know, they're supporting me. I have this responsibility and ownership, not only for myself, but for the people that's literally standing right behind me, helping me get through this ordeal. And so I just felt like with taking extreme ownership, you look at where you're from, you look at who you're representing, you look at, the industry that I'm in, like, here's your chance to prove and validate, you know, your credibility.
Yeah. Right? So you're doing this to get ultra marathon is ultra credibility in determination, fitness, capability, mindset, commitment, discipline, all of that, right?
That's literally what it is. And the only reason why I got drawn into the 100-miler, it has nothing to do with running. It's just because people can put that into context because everybody knows a distance. But to be fair with you, like the way I train is like exactly the way I feel during a 100-miler. And it's hard to put that into context when I'm doing like a 3-hour echo bike ride or a 2-hour ski on my machine. Like I train the same way. It's just people don't understand that context of that kind of style of training unless you're actually there doing it with me. Mm-hmm. So when the minute they hear 100-miler, like already it's like, man, all like ears are perked up like the dogs, you know, they're like, oh my God, I want to know more about how you did that. Yeah. So I've been in that same mindset, that same drive. It's just that 100-miler almost validated.
Yeah, like, that's a big deal. Not everybody does it. How many have you done?
So, let me see, 4. I've done 4. Yeah.
Okay.
And
tell me about the one where you got that video.
Yeah. Okay. So that was actually, that one, a piece of me is still out in that race, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. So my first one, 72 miles, right? For 35 hours. The second one, that was 7 weeks later. It was 36 hours. Then third one, right? That was redemption. And the reason why I say that is because that was the first race where I didn't finish for 72 miles.
You were back on the same terrain. Back on the same
terrain. And knowing what to expect, that scared me. Because not scared me like I was afraid. It scared me like I need to do enough to prepare for this, right? So it was enough to keep me accountable in my training. Mm-hmm. What kept me even more just motivated with that particular run too is that was my first sponsorship. So I have a sponsorship with a company called Quebec Wealth Management. They're based out of Chicago. And it was an individual that was just like Tony, Coach Tony. I met him through just one of my services. You heard about my story. You heard about these 100-mile, things. I goes, is that true? I said, absolutely. And he goes, dude, you look too big to be a runner. I said, don't get it twisted. I'm not a runner. I said, I just like challenging myself in ways where it's going to push me to become a better person. And I'm just using fitness as that vessel. That's literally it. Okay. The same way I'm training you is the same way I'm doing that to myself. So the third race, again, it's Firefest Ultra Redemption. This is part 2. I go out there. Let me put into context. I meet a gentleman. I see this guy in my hotel for about 6 months, right? And he comes in, doesn't do much in terms of services with me outside of saying, "Hey, welcome in. Good morning. Hope you have a great workout." That's the context of our interaction and our relationship. Like that, literally, that's it. The week or the 2 days before my Firefest Ultra race, the second one, he's like, "You know what? I've been seeing you here and I see you kind of train a lot of people. Like, I'm interested." I said, "Absolutely. Let's do this." So I train him. And to be fair, gentleman is probably about mid-50s.
Okay.
And anytime I put anybody through like an assessment workout, it's usually like pretty strenuous for most people. This guy walked through it. And I said, that is very uncommon, right? And I said, "You know what, sir, I apologize. I appreciate you giving your best effort. And I apologize for my shortcomings. But I'm used to training professional athletes, just not at Fontainebleau." I said, "I promise you give me one more chance, I'm going to give you a workout that you probably won't forget or that you've probably never done." So he says, "Sure, let's do it." This was on a Wednesday. I meet him Thursday. We train, and he's like, "Man, you're absolutely right. You blew me away. I want to sign up again for training." So I said, "Unfortunately, I can't train you tomorrow." I goes, "Why not?" Because I'm running this 100-mile race. And he's
Okay.
like, "What? Like,
Yeah.
why?" I said, "You know what? A lot of people ask me that, and I give them the same response in return. Why not? You know?" I go, I go, in short, I go, out of respect, I go, "I'm going to answer your question." I said, the minute anybody walks in the doors, I want them to know that they're in good hands. There's every aspect of what I can possibly do to ensure you that I have all these attributes, all this experience, all this knowledge. Like, I've worked enough on myself to know that I can train anybody in the world. Like, that's how much I'm confident. Like, literally, there's nothing that I've never experienced or there's nothing that anybody can do to me that I haven't already done to myself. So in that regards, I want to make sure that there's no stone unturned. And because of that, that's why nobody intimidates me. I look at anybody's career or accomplishments or achievements and I respect it, but that doesn't mean like automatically like I'm going to be intimidated by somebody else's resume. It's like, listen, I've worked on myself enough to know that anybody's capable of accomplishing everything. So don't discredit their ability,
Yeah.
but I also don't.
You want to just tell them that you want to show people, I'm doing this 100 miles because I got the masters, I got the look, I got all the skills. Like, I walk the walk.
Exactly.
All right. So you meet this guy.
So this guy, he's loving it. He's digging it. He's eating it up. And he goes, "Tell you what, you got this race tomorrow. Can I ask for a small request?" I said, "Absolutely." He goes, "Can you just tell me where you're at along the way on your journey?" I said, "Absolutely. Not a problem." So next day comes, I'm out there, Firefest Ultra 2, right? Redemption. The first 2 laps, first 40 in an ultra, to put it in perspective, now that I have a little bit more experience in it, the race doesn't start until mile 60, right?
Okay.
After mile 60, now you start to compartmentalize like what needs to happen for you to finish.
Yep. Okay.
But also at that point, your body's already broken down,
And this is a 35-hour limit again, right?
35-hour limit.
Okay.
And anyways, the race starts, right? I'm that much more confident. I have my preparation is streamlined. And usually I have about 4 or 5 people that were crewing with me. I only had 1 guy with me. So yeah, so I again, just more confident, ready to take on this challenge, and I'm ready. So first 2 laps, 40 miles in, feeling good. No real challenges yet. Go to my 3rd lap.
Your ass isn't sweating yet.
Yeah, no, really. Like, to be honest with you, I'm warming up. I feel warmed up, right?
Okay.
I go to lap 3, which is 60 miles in. And now the ultra demons are starting to creep in just a tad bit now, right? Okay. Feet are starting to kind of impacted. I started looking at my feet or take off my socks, started looking at my feet. I got like a pretty gnarly blister coming in. 2 of my toenails already popped out, which is pretty common. Man. Yeah. Like because of all the pressure, you know?
Yeah.
My right hip starting to bother me. I had cramping on my left glute. And so I was like, man, I need to figure out ways on how to deal with this. So we get out into our lap 4. We're about 68 miles in. So only 8 miles from our last checkpoint. And it's starting to get dark. Headlamp goes out, right? So 0 visibility. I'm talking
Holy
about
cow.
You can't even see. If you had your hand faced in front of you, your visibility with just your hand is 15%.
Wow.
So I was in a bad spot. And the funny part is it was just lack of preparation from a gear standpoint, not necessarily body now. It's from like gear.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm 68 miles in, and the next 4 to 8 miles normally would take me about an hour and a half. Took me 4 hours because we're literally taking step by step to make sure that we don't twist our ankle and fall on our face and just make a bad situation worse.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, my phone battery is starting to get low a little bit. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to give an update. All right. And give my wife a check-in, my sponsor a check-in, and then this gentleman that I just met the day before. And, long and behold, I was at mile 72 and feeling like shit, feeling down, you start to you go through this roller coaster of emotions. And I was already at kind of at a low point. It was cold. It was miserable. No visibility. My pace slowed drastically. And here I am. I'm thinking I'm not going to finish again. Right. So I get a message and signal is kind of shoddy, but I get a message and I open my phone and like a lightning bolt of energy just hits me. I get this FaceTime message of Michael Phelps just telling me like, Ray, Michael Phelps here, 72 out of 100 miles. I don't know how you're fucking doing it, but you're doing it. Go out there, keep chugging through, and finish strong. The minute I heard that,
amazing,
I started running.
You did.
Every bone in my body felt like it got healed.
Oh, wow.
I just started moving.
Dopamine blast.
That's it. That is
dopamine, pure dopamine blast.
And let me tell you, the last 28 miles, I didn't even sit down. I didn't eat. I didn't even care about visibility. I just said, I was like possessed, to be honest with you. And I just followed whatever wheel it took to finish. And that when I say that there's still a part of me out there in that desert, I didn't think I was going to make it in terms of finishing it, and I was ready. I was delusional. By the time the sun came back up on day 2, I mean, I was dehydrated. I probably had heat exhaustion. And let me tell you, when the amount of rocks that you just see on the ground, like it came to a point where like I started imagining like the rocks were like speakers, and like I'm like, why is that speaker on the ground? Why are people leaving it? Like I was literally just like I had an out of body experience. Just
oh my gosh, this is unbelievable.
How depleted I was. But I finished.
What time?
And, I want to say right at 35. I hit. I was like, to be honest with you, I think I was like 20 minutes from the cutoff time. Wow. Yeah. And you know what? I had a chance to talk to the race director, and they're like, only 17 people finished the race that year that I did it, which was November of 2024. Okay. And I was 16 out of 17. Wow. And unbelievable. I think throughout the course of the race's existence, there was like 45 people that finished it. It says 60, but what happens is that if you do it like 2 or 3 years in a row, it counts as the same.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
so yeah. Okay.
I want to say there's about 60 finishes, but I think out of the 60, there's like 45 people period that has ever completed that race. And so that one sticks with me in terms of just overall accomplishment. And then, in terms of my ultra career, I just finished a race about a week and a half ago, or 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry. And that was another 100 miler, and I actually beat my time by 5 hours.
You did another one 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Wow, you're addicted to these now. You love them. Do you have any nails left on your feet? Have they grown back? I mean,
there's 3 left. Yeah, I think my days for a foot model is long gone now.
All right, good. Hey, listen, with the time we have left, because I could talk to you for the next 5 hours, I got some questions. I'm going to call this a lightning round, all right?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to try to keep you in a lane here. 1 minute max for answers, okay?
Okay, let's do it.
Boy, you've told me so much, and I don't want to repeat it. How about this one? Picture this.
Okay.
If you could own a billboard in Vegas where everybody would see it, and you could put something on that billboard for the world to see,
okay,
what do you think you'd put on that billboard?
Probably put a quote, which is something I live by. Anybody can quit. Don't be anybody.
Dude, I love that. I love that. Let's go on to the next one. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received? And you could be a little bit more elaborate on this one.
Yeah. Man, you know what? It's funny because typically I'm the one that's usually giving the motivational stuff. So
yeah,
best advice.
What about Cousin Anthony? Cousin Anthony ever say anything to you that charged you up?
Man, I'm just trying to go through the mental Rolodex right now. You know what? I mean, just top of my head, like first thing that comes to mind, maybe not necessarily him, but just in general, best advice is if your goals don't scare you, you never set it high enough.
Okay. I love that.
And the reason why I truly believe that is because, a marathon never scared me. 100 miles did.
Yeah.
I look at, right now, like I got so many different plans I'm trying to do at the moment. Like I'm thinking about 2 more 100-mile races. I'm thinking about possibly running from California to Arizona, state line to state line. I'm thinking about doing a triathlon, an Ironman.
How long is California to Arizona?
I want to say 140 miles, maybe.
Okay.
I'm not mistaken. So it'd be like state line to state line. And so I'm planning the logistics for that. And the good thing that's different from my first ultra to now is that I got a lot of, like you were saying, I got a lot of support now.
Yeah.
I have a sponsorship. I got someone I got a team that's behind me. So if I ever needed like logistical support, it's beautiful. And the funny thing about this whole process is that I've been doing this to not get publicity, to not get attention.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't have a big social media following, to be honest with you, Vic, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I care about helping people that's in front of me. I care about help. The more I help myself, the more I'm able to give back in return.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Maybe one more kind of quote is I like to say, be selfish in the morning so you can be selfless the rest of the day.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Hey, I got a couple more, all right? Because you're giving some good stuff here. What's one truth that exists out there that you think most people are not ready to hear?
Whenever you feel you're at your worst, right? Your worst physical state, since I'm a fitness guy, right? Your worst physical state. And you think like, there's nothing more I could do. Like, this is it. This is like my last fiber of strength that I can muster, right? Believe it or not, that's only 40% of what your capability is. Let that sink in. That's your 40%. So that means there's 60% you're not even tapping into half of what your capabilities are.
I worked out with a military guy who told me that. He said, right when you're ready to give up, when you think you're completely depleted and done, he goes, you're at 40%. And there's so much more to give.
The reason why I feel like that's the case is, imagine, you have kids, right?
Yeah.
And you're at your most vulnerable state physically. You can't even lift to scratch your head, right? You're at that state. And your son or your daughter called you, says, Dad, I'm in trouble. I need help. I don't care what kind of state. You're going to go out there and you're going to figure out a way to assist them, help them out. That's where I feel that we leave so much on the table. And I think when you have untapped potential, that's the worst aspect in someone's life that you can ever experience not going through.
You ever see the movie A Bronx Tale?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So what's his dad say? Son, there's nothing worse in this life than wasted talent.
There it is.
Right?
There
That's beautiful. One
Yeah.
last question. And this is going to be interesting because I think there are a million of them in the fitness industry. And I know just from our time together, not only before tonight, but certainly after tonight, that you've heard them all and you serve none of them on your plate. What's the biggest scam everyone falls for?
Biggest scam. I would say quick fix, like a lot of fads, quick fix diets, quick fix programs. And usually whenever it's kind of a cliche, but whenever it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Usually is.
If you hear someone that's like, oh, wow, like this meal program or this workout program, like everybody's biochemistry, everybody's body is different, right? And so you want to be able to like align yourself. And you know what? Now I almost want to rechange my answer because now something just kind of like literally, I don't say pissed me off, but one thing that just really fires me up is a coach, a trainer, or anybody that's in the industry that you got to remember, everybody gives advice at what they're good at.
Yeah.
What I hate is the fact that you're willing to say, for instance, you have a bodybuilder, right? And someone that's really great at building muscle.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to train someone on how to become an athlete, how to become explosive. Do you have the knowledge and background to give them a program? Yes, you do. But guess what? That's not how you train. And no matter what, you're going to train somebody how you train, no matter what. That's just human nature in terms of who you are as a fitness professional. Yeah. And that's what I hate is because you get someone that is, if you ever notice in my profile, I put conditioning and strength coach.
Yeah.
Because everybody throws that term around. Like everybody's a strength and conditioning coach. Like everybody got the strength part down packed to a science. I'll give them that. I never see someone that's great at conditioning. Let me tell you why. Because that shit sucks. That shit's hard.
It's hard.
And for me, I put the hard part first. That's why whenever you look at, and I did a play in words because that's what represents me is I get unconventional, untraditional. I'm a conditioning and strength coach because everybody throws that in because it just rolls off the tongue and that's just accepted by the industry. When you start to preach about something that you have no idea, like you don't immerse yourself into, then how can you call yourself that? Yeah. So if you say that you're a personal trainer or a coach, don't get me wrong, you are a coach, but are you a coach of, there's a reason why in football, in the NFL, you have a linebacker coach.
Yep.
You have a defensive back coach. You have a quarterbacks coach.
You get all positions.
Those are all coaches. But when the hell do you have a quarterback coach telling a lineman or coaching the lineman?
Yeah,
right?
You don't.
So why the hell would you want to have someone that is not in the space that you're trying to accomplish help you? If you're a general health person, absolutely, that's great. But why would you hire a bodybuilding coach? It's not because they don't know what they're doing, but they're going to train you like a bodybuilder, not general health, and vice versa. If you're trying to become a bodybuilder and then you hire a bodybuilding coach, wow, what a perfect fit.
Yeah.
Right? But a bodybuilding coach or a CrossFit coach or a running coach, like no one's going to hire me to be an MMA coach, right? Because that's not my background.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what though, if they said strength and conditioning, they're going to hire me. So same context when it comes to training. Don't look at everybody and put them in this one size fits all like box. Yeah. That's a fad. That's a fad that's never gonna die out.
I love it. I love it. Ray, I have one last question for you.
Okay.
And don't feel pressured to give me an answer right now.
Okay.
Okay. You can say, Vic, we'll catch up on this later. Okay. How do I become part of the team? I want to be at the next race.
Oh, wow.
Think about it. Don't give me an answer. Is there a position open for a guy like me? I work cheap. You don't have to pay me anything.
Man.
I want to be on the support team.
Man, you know what? If you're looking to have a good time and you're looking for a life-changing moment, everybody that's ever been, to put into context, the last race I did, I had, because of the momentum I built with this whole ultra thing, imagine I did 4 ultras in 15 months, right? So of course I've met a lot of cool people along the way. Yeah. This last race was the most support I've ever received. And I didn't even ask for it because they were like, I just want to be part of it. I just want to, can I run 10 miles?
This dude who's never done one, who did one at 72 miles and 7 weeks later got pissed off and did another one. Like, I got to be near this guy. Ray, we're going to follow up after this. First of all, I'm going to be in Vegas in March. And so when we're done here, we're going to sit around and chat a little bit.
Okay.
We got a handshake at the very least. And if I could buy you lunch or dinner and meet this beautiful wife of yours, that would be my honor and pleasure.
First of all, screw the lunch and dinner. We got to trade.
Let's do it, baby. Okay.
That's it.
All right. I'm going to have to step it up and be ready for you.
All right. I'm ready.
So we can have a shake after it's done.
Okay. Perfect.
But I'm going to be on Vegas. But dude, this time was a special episode for me.
Wow.
You're a inspirational guy. We are cut in some places from the same cloth. I've never been in the shape to run 100 miles, but I have a ultra marathon brain. Never give up, grind, discipline, do the work, never quit. You know, if I told you my business stories about the shit we did at 4 and 5 in the morning to get across the finish line, to make sure a project was complete when most people were ready to turn back at 11 at night or 2 days prior, it's the same mindset. I've applied this stuff in business and it's yielded amazing results for me. So I'm attracted to it. Like I told you in our last call, I was into CrossFit. I wasn't enough just going to the box. I became an L1, an L2. I went to seminars. Every time if I was going to Vegas, I went to the big box out there. I never missed, it's great. Nice. And I'm recently back into my fitness journey. I'm about to turn 61. I put together this great kettlebell routine. I'm going to go do it tonight after this is done. I'm going to head over to the gym and crush it. I've been going like 5-6 times a week, and I alternate between VO2 max and weightlifting. Okay. We can talk more about this stuff, but my point is not about me, about you. You are an inspiring guy, and I'm glad Coach put us together. And I'm going to track your 100 milers, man. I want to be a part of your journey. I'm a supporter, a fan, and a friend now. So really, really pleasure having you on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. I mean, I'll be honest with you, time flew by. I mean, I had a great time. It brought back a lot of memories that to be honest with you, I'm the type of person where I have a dry erase board, as you can tell.
Yeah.
I try to fill it up every day. I erase it, and then the next day I try to fill it back up again. So
start all over.
Sometimes I forget about some of the accomplishments just because I'm on to the next. So I really appreciate just using your platform as a way to kind of bring back and spark a whole, kind of series of things that occurred in my life. I'm like, wow, you know what? It's good to, every now and then just to reflect. And so I think that was a good exercise.
Good. Well, I think Tony's going to be with me in Vegas. I'm not sure yet. And if he is, the two of us are coming to train with you.
Even better. Even better.
Cool, man.
Absolutely.
Hey, wish your family the best. Thank them for allowing for you to give me these couple of hours tonight. I know family's important to you. And stay tuned, man. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Please don't forget to like,